Hi. So I'm starting this. My name is Ree, by the way. I'm starting this because I feel like the world is going delusional, and I feel like too many people are going to therapy unsuccessfully. Too many people are listening to too many gurus and sunglasses. Too many gurus and people who will, they swear to God up and down that they know what they're talking about, and therapists and everybody, psychiatrists, psychologists, and I've been to all and I've listened to all, because at times we get so lost that we really just need like a string, like Tarzan, like something to grab onto just to keep going, because I feel like we all get so in a rut and it's so difficult to come out of it that sometimes you just need somebody, right? And we don't always have the right people around us to guide us, and so we look for signs, we look for synchronicities, we look for help from above, but for the most part it's not coming, or even if it is, we don't really know what any of it means, right? Because we could spend years chasing signs, chasing synchronicities, chasing meanings, finding and meanings and things, and it could all just fall apart, and we have to start from scratch, having wasted so much precious time out of our life, focusing on the wrong thing maybe. And so I want this place to be a space of clarity and thoughts, and whoever wants to find some meaning in it or finds comfort in it, they're more than welcome to listen to me talk, basically. And the first thing that I wanted to focus on is our connections. And so I've thought a lot about this topic because love is a driving force in all of our lives, whether we like it or not, whether we try to run away from it or run towards it, look for it, hide from it. We all experience love, we experience connections, we experience heartbreak, we experience starting over, etc., etc. And as I am not a 20-something-year-old girl, with perfect makeup and perfect, surgeries and everything else, making myself look like something that y'all want to see, I think it's believable that I have some life experience, and then some. So the main thing that I've learned is that it's a comparison of the brain, right? Our brain is capable of so much, and a lot of it we don't even all the way tap into it, right? And what the brain does have to do is take shortcuts. It does so in every way. Like it's lazy, but it's not lazy. But if there's a way out, like cutting corners, it's gonna do that. It creates pathways, it creates connections, it utilizes all of its power and all of its elaborate neurons and systems and everything to get the job done, whatever it is, to keep us going. And when we look at a picture of anybody right side up, we see what we're looking at, and our brain completes the picture for us so that we instantly recognize what it is that we're looking at, whether it's a human, a dog, a cat, or whatever, a picture of anything, right? But specifically when we're looking at people, when we look at a face right side up, the brain sees a face and it tells us that it's a face, and it doesn't really, unless it's blatantly obvious, it doesn't really show us too many imperfections about that face, right? But as soon as we flip that picture upside down, we start seeing a lot of asymmetries. We start seeing a lot of imperfections, and I don't mean that in a bad way, but just in a simple sense of like, oh, I didn't realize that one eye is bigger than the other. I didn't realize that one eye is higher than the other one. I didn't realize that one corner of the mouth is turned down and the other one is turned up, because you just see a picture and you're like, oh, that's attractive, or oh, that's not attractive to you, or whatever. Or, oh, there's, specific features you might notice, but not really small details like that. So like when I was in art class as a younger girl, we would do portraits, right? And we would have a picture, and our teacher would always tell us to flip the portrait upside down and to draw it upside down, and that way we would be able to better copy what it is that we're drawing, because we're not kind of assuming where a line goes. We're not assuming the distance between, features or whatever. Anyway, that goes to say that our brain does the same exact thing when it comes to our connections, our relationships, friendships, family dynamics, etc. So we spend so much of our time making people fit, right, into a type that we like, into a person that we're looking for. We make our brain create connections and emotional attachments to people that just might not fit. They might not be that, We're not flipping it upside down and looking at this person and this connection with that person in the proper perspective, because we are immediately getting an emotional attachment to this being, or a situation or whatever it may be, right? Because we have expectations that we look for, we seek a specific love that we would like to feel. And sometimes we're so tired of feeling the wrong one that every single new one that comes up is like, this is the one, because we start seeing signs or synchronicities that, we think the universe is sending us. And it might be, but you don't really know what that means. You don't really know what it's telling you until you get there, right? Nothing kind of makes sense until you see the whole picture. And that's something that we all have to learn to do, is to step away, kind of step outside of our view of this person in that moment, and to fully see and grasp how they're treating us, right? Because it doesn't really matter, even if you meet the right person, even if that person is for you 100%, it doesn't mean that you met them at the right time. It doesn't mean that they're in the right state of mind. And at the end of the day, who they are to you at the moment is driven by how they treat you. If they're treating you in a shitty way and making you feel lost, uncomfortable, unsure, hurt, sad, crying, anything, don't try to find reasons to make this person fit into the perfect portrait of your love that you have in your mind. Sorry, son. Because it's very hurtful. It's a hurtful journey, and I've been on that journey many times. Trust me, many times. Because we see a person and we see things that we like about them, and we just want them to fit so bad because we feel so deeply for them, and sometimes we don't even know why. It's just certain connections. And I do believe in spiritual connections, deep connections, right? But it's not always at the right time. It's not always that the person finds us when they're ready to give us exactly what we need. And they could end up hurting us. And then it's kind of like starting over. And then you could close the door on even the right person that you just met at the wrong time. Because I've had connections like that. I apologize for this. I've had connections like that where you meet a person and something just clicks, right? And it's just like, this is my person. This is my person. And you push and you push and you push, and the person is showing you every single red flag, if you want to call it that, every single reason for you to think otherwise, but something clicked, and you just keep going forward. And then you keep going forward to the point of where it's too late to turn back around. I mean, it's not too late, but like, you've invested so much of yourself, so much of your feeling, your time, your energy, your devotion into this human, if they're human, hopefully, that like you're like, I'm just gonna stick it out, right? And the person never learns, because it could have been the right person, thought about this with specific people in my life, family relations and romantic relations. I've thought about this because sometimes you meet a person and you're like, everything in the universe tells you, like, there's a reason why I met this person, right? And you go through this journey of just turning the other cheek. Like, I know he's hurting me, but it's because of this. You make excuses for them. You make every last excuse to make that person not accountable for what they did, right? And you never make them own up to the mistakes that they're making, to the way that they're treating you. And at the end of the journey, right, they finally, at some point, hopefully at some point in your lifetime, will reach a point of no return. They will reach a point where you no longer can take any more pain, and you just close the door on that particular connection, or marriage or family dynamic relationship or whatever. And I always say that feeling bad for somebody and making excuses for them is one of the worst things that you can do to that person's growth, because you're hindering their growth and you are allowing them to be who they are in that moment. And it's not even about you. It's not even about you. It has to do with their own personal journey. If you're not one to value your love, your time, your energy, your essence, and you're just giving it away to a person who just continuously runs it into the ground, and you make excuses for their behavior, they will never change. And you will finally get to the point, even if on a soul level they're an amazing human, but something in their existence made them this way. They could have excuses. Like, every one of us goes through a lot of things, a lot of stuff in our life, like tough childhoods, absent parents, fights, trauma, all sorts of things. We all have excuses that we could give ourselves and other people for why we are the way that we are, right? But if we don't ever end up flat out on our butt, having to shift our conscience, having to change the way that we move through life, the way that we treat people, the way we deal with connections, the way we treasure or manipulate the loved ones in our life, if no one ever puts a halt on it by showing us or showing the other person, like, hey, this ain't the way, okay? I'm not taking that today, okay? If you don't ever reach that point with a person until the end, you're enabling them to keep going in the same exact way that they've always been. And even if that person was your person, even if it's such a deep soul connection that is body shattering, mind shattering, heart shattering, just kind of connection, and they do exist, right? But the person just ain't in the right state of mind in the 3D level, which happens to a lot of men, actually, because they're very focused on the material things, on the material life. They're not so easy. It's not easy to get them to really get into a state of, like, their ethereal being, their 5D self, or however you want to explain it, like their soul level. There's so many beautiful souls that are they're just stuck, but it doesn't mean that you got to be stuck there with them. You could let them go on their way and they could come back to you fixed. They could come back to you in the right way at the right time. But if you never show them that the way that they're being is messed up, by leaving, not by just like nagging or telling them over and over again, but just like putting your foot down, or both feet, just stomp on the floor and just be like, I'm out, bro, or girl, whatever. You know what I mean? Like, if you never do that, that person is going to spend a whole nother lifetime trying to grow, right? Because personally I believe in multiple lifetimes and learning our lessons and karma and all that. I don't have a particular religion. I don't need to abide by any kind of book. I don't need people telling me what I have in my heart, my soul. That's where I get my guidance from. I don't need to go anywhere and be told, how to be. I do take guidance and wisdom from all religions, from all belief systems, but I don't feel like I need to abide by any, because as soon as you abide by one, there becomes a point where it starts to separate you from the others, and I don't really want to be separate from anything. You know, I don't want to have one belief system and then be told that the other belief system is wrong, or, you know, not up to par, or whatever, outdated, whatever you want to call it. So I just take wisdom from everybody, and I put it in my soul, and I run with it the best that I can. And I think that having the all-inclusive religion and understanding of the world is the way to go, because there's too many wars being fought between people that shouldn't be fighting. There's too many wars being fought between people that are basically like brother and brother, sister and sister, and it's sad. It makes me sad, because lives should not be lost due to belief systems. They just should not. These are all things that are very temporary, because whatever you believe in this life, you only get to find out the reality of things, maybe, when you get to your next one. You know what I mean? When you're no longer here and you can't even talk about it, and you can't even stand on business because you're not here, right? That's my stand on it. Anyway, I digress. But yeah, and so like I look at dynamics in my family and love relationships and stuff like that, and I'm just like, wow, would I have told that person off, right? Send them on their way. However many years ago, however many moons ago, they could have come back and we could have had something beautiful, because they would have had time, and maybe other relationships, maybe other people kind of put them in their place, put things in perspective, and they could have come back and we could have had the same story, but in a much more beautiful way. But instead, when you sit there and you wait and you enable and you keep making excuses for that person, you finally get to a point of no return, and you finally tell them off, but it's the last time, because you get to a point where you are no longer full of the same emotions that you had for them. You turn cold, rightfully so. There's only so much that you could take from a person before you really just can't. You can't allow yourself to keep going that way, right? And so I know this is like super long, but I feel like so many of us go through this, and so many of us just get so lost in the love that we have, and feel it. Your love is beautiful, feel it, but sometimes you just gotta step outside and be like, how is this person showing up for me? If this was happening to my best friend or my sister or my daughter or my mom or whatever, what would I say about the situation? Put yourself on blast like that, and then take a step back, right? Because you only have this one life, and you only have so many summers, so many winters to go through, right? It seems like so much time, but honestly, when you break it down to summers, you don't got that many summers. Especially like if you're mid-life, you know what I mean? Like, you don't got that many summers with wasting time on people who just are not treating you right. It could be the right person, wrong time. Allow that person the opportunity to start over and to understand where they went wrong, to put things in perspective on their own time, in their own space, where they're not taking up any of yours. You know, and they could come back and you could start over, or not. But I feel like all of us wait too long, and then there's no chance. There's no chance to restart something that could have been beautiful had the people realized that they need time apart, real time apart, without the expectation of coming back together. Not like, let's take a break. No, I don't mean that. I mean stand on business. Like, and some people are not capable of change, and you also have to allow that, because everyone has a choice. Everyone makes choices in their life, and they're not always going the way that, in the direction that you want them to go. But it's just the reality, you know, it's the reality of life. So I truly hope that this reaches the people that need to hear it, and that it helps somebody, because so many of us suffer a lot in love, suffer in families, suffer with just going through shit. There's enough stuff going on all day, every day, that sometimes you just need a voice to walk you through it. From experience, it took one conversation with somebody that I barely knew who put things in perspective for me. It wasn't anything romantic, it wasn't anything like that. Just a conversation to really make me go, I really need to rethink like how I've been moving. Right? So I hope that I am that person for some of y'all. And I'm going to try to do these as often as possible because I have so much shit to talk about. And so many little opinions. Not opinions, but you know what I mean. Thoughts. And feel free to comment whatever. As long as I see it, I will try to answer. And if you have any questions,